Good evening. We're going to call the Tuesday, June 27th, 2024 Board of Directors meeting to order. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I hope you enjoy the food.
It's Thursday.
I know it's Thursday. We got to get out of here. We're missing,
No.
some good TV.
I'm missing nothing.
We're missing.
I got Vegas bet, man.
Yeah, we got. I bet you do.
Two Bobos over there. Who does the first hand?
The quorum?
Yes, we have a quorum.
Okay. Confirming posting of the agenda.
The agenda's been posted.
Any announcement changes to the agenda?
We want to add some things to the agenda. The legislative matrix is on the consent calendar. And, but there have been bills that have come up since then. And the bills that we want to add are, we have 3 bills we want to add. So if we can do that under SBCCOG reports, maybe after the administrative items.
Okay.
We can add, it's 3 pieces of legislation.
Just remind me. Comments from the public. I have 2 cards. Holly?
Okay, I went to the board meeting today, but it was so full, I never got a chance to talk. So you get my 1-minute speech and I won't go so fast, and it might only take a minute and a half.
Oh,
So it'll be under your 3. Anyway, okay, so this is Dr. Osborne, retired engineer from Redondo Beach. I spoke at the Board of Directors meeting a month ago, but it was before Metro made their presentation on the Green Line, and there were a number of troubling comments were made, and I feel it necessary to set the record straight. So just one item. Figure 1 shows the current configuration. Configuration
Nice.
this is the Metro space through Lawndale, and notice how it's all nice and green and shady. There's the line that goes through, and plenty of green space, plenty of shade, all that's important for climate change and rising temperatures. Now, Metro is going to move the freight train this way towards Condon a little bit, put in a fence right here, okay? And put in a path right here, mostly paved, a few trees. And then they say, oh, we're giving you a path. And they're making that a big black bubble on their trade chart. That this option, the hybrid road, gives us a path. Well, what it does is take us away. Metro giveth and Metro taketh away. They take away the whole green space to give us a paved, mostly paved path. I don't think that's a good deal, okay? I wouldn't have been this sarcastic in front of the board, but this will make it more interesting for you. Then the rest of it is, there's the LRT. That's the light rail transit. That's 2 sets of tracks, and they will go up here somewhere, okay? So everything's covered except their path that they're giving us. And I did not try to put these in detail, because this is where it's all wrong. All the mistakes that I keep coming and presenting those charts and saying this is not right, that this chart was left out of the DEIR, and then they reissued it and it still doesn't fit. This is where they're going to try to cram and jam, only it's going to end up being cram and jam and condemn, and I don't care what they say. All right, so how long was that?
Minute and a half.
Just over 2 minutes.
Okay, so I could be under 3.
You did it. You actually did it. Thank you. ATT McKenzie.
I'm gonna report from this way. Good evening, everyone. So I'm Mackenzie Neely-Wright with AT&T. I've presented here before. Very nice to see you all. Hopefully, everyone in this, well, not in the room, but on the table has received an email from me that provided an AT&T update. So I'm here to just kind of reiterate what it stated. So when I first came to the COG meeting in February, I spoke of AT&T's application with the CPUC for carrier of last resort relief. I get the AC now. And so basically, I hope everyone can still hear me, but the long and short of it is that the CPUC rendered an opinion to reject our application, which then meant that we had to take another route. And so what I shared with you is that we've now gone a legislative bill route that's being authored by Assemblymember Tina McKinnon, and it is AB 2797. And so the details of that carves out rural areas because that was a big point of contention. There was also concerns for the senior community that spoke to an affordability piece as well as education, which has now been incorporated into this bill. There were also questions or rather concerns around options as far as having multiple options that you could choose from, which we've also addressed in this bill. So it's going to the Senate committee on July the 2nd. We've gotten over 100 and nearly 200, I should say, letters of support for the application. For the bill. There have been a lot of conversations with organizations that were not necessarily happy with the application, who have now understood the changes and appreciate that we've heard them. And so I just wanted to provide this like quick AT&T update and make sure that you knew about what we were working on. And then you can contact me directly with any questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know, I've got a clap.
I think that's to say, because I don't want to be springing this later, that one of the pieces of legislation that we were going to bring up later on, one of the pieces of legislation that we're planning to bring up later on is AB 2797, because it is now, I'll just mention it, the PUC did rule, they are the regulatory agency, they have, our COG, if you remember, took no position. But the point is that the regulatory agency took a position and now the carriers have gone to legislation. And the legislation not only opens this up to AT&T, but also opens it up to every other carrier. The Cal Cities is, I think, is opposing it.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that, I wanted to bring it back to you, which we can discuss later. Not on the carrier idea so much because you were neutral on that, but on the idea of going around the CPUC and creating legislation. So we can have that discussion later, but I want to make sure to get it on the table now.
Thank you, Jackie. Next item, consent calendar. We'll entertain a motion.
Second.
I'd ask,
Any items?
item B before.
Item B,
Budget.
B,
Mr. Chair.
B, want to pull B, okay.
Yes, I knew someone was going to say something about that.
C is not pulling C. So I actually want to have an opposed vote on legislative support C1. I don't know if we're pulling that, but I want to,
You probably should pull it then.
Yeah, pull it in,
but I didn't need discussion unless others wanted to.
but just for the vote.
Okay, that's fine. So we're going to pull B.
And C.
And see.
B pull C and C pull C.
You can only pull your glitter. All right, let me know when I'm up.
Okay,
Yes, all right. So,
not yet, wait, we have to vote for
We're gonna vote on
the
the-
remainder of the count, the line.
okay. I thought
Any
you said,
objections to the consent calendar except for B and C? Any abstentions?
Okay, now B, now B.
okay, now B for B. Okay. So I just wanted to underscore first on process. I know that this has come up before. And I know several years ago when Frank Sarunian was here and I brought up the issue about putting a budget on the consent, albeit it was introduced to us last month. I think when we're coming to approve something like as crucial as a budget, it should not be on the consent calendar. It should always be pulled up so that the members could address any questions and actually vote on it directly rather than as a group under consent. But that's one thing. But as process, I want to question because I know, our issue is Rolling Hills being the smallest city. We're always looking at the dues. And I did not, and maybe I missed this from last month because the figures are the same. But why is it that we have on is this page 15 on the budget summary? We have an actual for fiscal year 22-23. I know we're much close to the end of fiscal year 23-24, but we should have an estimated as to what that actual is because it's going to end in a few days. But we have a mid-year budget, but it appears that the mid-year budget, the dues is 38,564
higher than the actual for 22-23, but from that mid-year to what is being proposed for 24-25, it's almost double that amount. It's 71,236. I don't know why there's so much of an increase for the dues. Other than I know people approved it, but to have that high of an increment. And then, you know, my concern is in terms of process, again, this is not directed to anything. No one's questioning anybody's integrity or that someone's doing something untoward. But I mean, I worked for government agencies, the federal government, the county government. Now I'm, you know, on city council looking at city government. And it's always an issue of terms of keeping costs down. I know we used to have somebody who was a finance director for one of the cities supervising the budget to try to, on behalf of cities, trying to make sure that our costs are being monitored. So it's not a situation where you need supplies, you just go to a supply cabinet. This is just an example. And then we need more, we just order more, and then it comes in as a budget adjustment. We got to increase the budget because our expenses are higher than they were. So that's just a concern. And it just appears that from the mid-year revenue budget on page 19, the adopted mid-year revenue budget was lower for revenue than the adopted expenditure budget was. So I don't know, and we should not be expending more than we're getting in revenue. I mean, that's my understanding of how things are supposed to work. So this is more of a process question. I think it needs to be addressed because the only time we get to talk about that is during the budget, and that's once a year, but it should be agendized. So there's some kind of understanding of how this works out so that we're not just getting not only grafted in dues increases, but then we're going to get budget increases where they're going to say, well, you know, the dues increases that we put in are not enough. We need to have more money, and it just keeps increasing. That is a big concern for us, the smallest city. I know some other cities can absorb that more easily, and it doesn't seem to be, you know, as big a deal, but for us it is. So I want to note that, and maybe there's going to be something to address that from staff, but I know everyone's trying to say they try to cut costs, but I think there needs to be more of a process set up to calculate expenditures and make sure that there's some accountability, because it doesn't appear that there's, you know, when you have a budget director who works for the COG and everything's all part of the same pot. I work for government and it doesn't happen because everyone just says, oh, we can always ask for a budget amendment, you know. So
Are you complete?
yes,
Okay. The first part, I know that based on how the funds come into the COG, based upon grants, you anticipate based upon what you know you're going to receive, but you don't always receive them when you say that they're going to come. So it comes later after the fact. We know it's a guarantee. So we put it in the budget to show you the true numbers as they are today. So we're not trying to inflate it by saying it's coming, but when we get the money, then we show it in the budget. And I know during the executive board meeting, we discussed this, and that's when we bring it back to the actual entire board for ratification to explain it. Now, based upon the dues, we did have a meeting regarding the dues, and we voted on I think it was 3% COLA, 5%.
3% in the assessment.
3% for the COLA. That's going to be continuous in perpetuity at this point in time, unless a new board comes in and make another change. So the fees are not going to be changing at a rate that I don't think a city can manage, because you know going into it, it's going to be that 3% based upon cost of living. So that's going to be maintained all the time. And then we rolled in the assessment. So that's part of it all the time. So that's not going to change either. So those are the things that are in place. So as far as dues go, they're going to stay the same except for the COLA. And the reason why you see amount of money that may not match is because we're waiting for those funds to come in through the funding source.
And if I can just add, you mentioned page 19, and we're really proud of the fact that this is the first year that we're actually coming to you with a budget with a surplus. the numbers you quoted were the previous year, but the proposed budget, we're estimating that we will have an $11,000 surplus. So that's on page 19. It is a balanced budget. And then I did want to mention that this is the fourth time it's come before our board committee. The way our process works is we take it to the May steering committee. Any comments at the May steering committee, we incorporate it into the May board meeting. It is not on the consent calendar in May. And any comments at the May board meeting, we take to the June steering committee. There were no comments at either the May board meeting or the June steering committee. And I did say that it would go on the consent calendar. If you don't want it on the consent calendar, that is your choice. But we did announce at the time, since there had been no comments, that it would go on the consent calendar. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to mention is you mentioned a finance director. Our treasurer is always a finance director from one of the cities. So,
And on the page that has the narrative, you're asking about like, what is the expenditures, what does the expenditures look like as close as possible to the budget? And that is actually on the year to date as of 3/31/24 column.
What page?
I don't have the
18,
page 18. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the actual budget itself, so I don't have page numbers.
but in the packet it's 18.
18. And it's the 1, 2, 3, it's the third column over from the left. Let's see where it says 3/31/20.
I think you're talking about page 15 is the third column from the left. It's
Page 15, page 15, sorry.
Oh, good.
Don't have page numbers either.
I don't really track.
Yeah, I know these are like lump sums, and so in terms of how this is being accounted for, I'm just saying that, I know we have a treasurer and that treasurer's always finance director for one of the cities, but I never have seen that person come and say, give a report saying, hey, I've been monitoring expenses and making sure that on behalf of cities that the money's being used economically so that there's some accountability. I don't know enough about accounting, how that could be instituted. I'm just suggesting that just as a procedure, not as saying anyone's not trying to save money. All I'm saying is that it's pretty important because we've got a big organization with a lot of cities that would be nice to have something of that, like that in place.
We take that under advisement. We definitely would do that. So what do you want to do with, you want to make the motion? If you want to, you pulled the item, so.
I just think we should as a board vote with the budget, and just because I think that's also a procedure that I know Frank was in agreement with that. He doesn't normally serve here, but he came on one occasion. He goes, I agree. At most boards I'm on, he said the same thing. The budget is always something that the board votes on. It's not, it's that, even if there's been information before.
So you want to make a motion?
Push.
Somebody, I mean, I'm asking.
Okay. It's been moved and second, roll call vote, David. Yes.
El Segundo,
Yes.
Cardina,
Yes.
Hawthorne,
Yes.
Hermosa Beach.
Yes.
President, Juan Miguel is not present. Lamita,
Yes.
LA City is not present, Manhattan Beach,
Yes.
this state is not present, Rancho Palos Verdes.
Yes.
Laguna Beach,
Yes.
Yes. Oops, sorry.
I didn't know I delegated. Okay, I'll go ahead and say yes.
United States. Not present, and SB one.
Yes.
Motion passes, thank you.
Thank you. Now, item C, legislative matrix. Don?
And I didn't want to make a big issue. I just wanted to cast a vote, but if you want to do a typical vote. I don't believe in plastic bans. I think the state's done a very poor job of banning plastic, and it's actually gotten way worse, since I don't trust this.
So which bills are they, Joe?
This is according to AB 2236 and SB 1053. Deals with plastic.
AB 2236 and what else?
SB.
Oh, it was SB 10. It's on the agenda as C1.
Right.
Okay, I gotta see one. I entertain a motion.
For the whole consent calendar.
I'm sure somebody.
No, that'd be for item C.
Just
for item C.
Legislative matrix.
Yeah.
I move on C.
I'm actually, I want to vote with the rest of the group probably on the other one, by the way. I oppose the other
Pull them
two.
out.
So it's C1 is really the one. Someone probably needs,
Opposition to those two bills.
The
Yeah.
plastics.
Okay.
somebody probably needs to make a motion to support that. And Zane probably wants,
I'll make a motion to support those.
Okay, it's been motion, but second.
and somebody else has to second it.
No.
And I'm just gonna vote no.
I heard Zane. Okay. All right, okay, David, got it,
If I can explain my support for these bills. So
to the process.
we discussed this, I think it's
Wait,
chair.
Wait, we want,
Second it yet?
yes,
All right. I was just gonna explain my support for these bills. We in Redondo Beach tried to ban these thick plastic bags because if you go to our Target or our Sprouts and you get takeout, you get these thick plastic bags. You go to Manhattan Beach, you get the paper bags. And we tried to ban it, but we're told by the city attorney that we're preempted by state law. Manhattan Beach had put it in as prohibition before state law came out and eliminated the single-use plastic bags. So it's both an issue of local control and also I think all the studies have shown that more plastic has been dumped as a result of this multi-use plastic bag, these thicker bags being used than when the single plastic bags were being used. So for that reason, I support these.
Carson,
yes.
El Segundo,
No.
Gardena.
No.
Just want to make sure you get, this is on the consent.
No, it's only on those
It's T1.
four bills, those two bills.
Hawthorne,
Abstain.
Wait, second.
Second and just to move forward, to move.
So David, so everybody know, because I think maybe they're not clear.
on the two plastic bags,
Plastic bags.
The plan, okay.
which are 2234 and 1050. Okay, it was on.
That's not the ones that's what,
That's 2236
Oh,
and
sorry,
1053.
Sorry.
and 10.
It's tiny typing in my
Oh.
spreadsheet.
I just want to make sure for the record.
Inglewood is not present, Lawndale is still not present, Lamita,
Yes.
LA City's not present, Manhattan Beach,
Yes.
Deviant Estates. Present, RPV,
No.
Redondo Beach,
Yes.
Rolling Hills,
No,
Rolling Hills Estates,
Yes.
Lawrence is not present, SD2 is not present, SD4.
abstain. I have to think. It's 4-4.
What was that? What?
4-4 and 2, I think.
It was worth the vote.
And what you?
Okay, so the main motion,
I have 5 yeses.
okay, you,
Finances, I'm sorry.
Carson was a yes.
yeah,
Beach was a yes. Yes. Anita was a yes. Manhattan Beach was a yes, and Rolling Hills Estate was a yes.
And Redondo Beach.
And Redondo Beach, that's 6.
that's 6, okay.
Yeah, and I have 1, 2, 3 no's. 4 no's,
Oh,
and
no.
2 abstains.
I have a-
Legislature's gonna quiver.
Oh, David. I think the halls.
What they did.
Big cigar smoke, hey.
That's what an abstention is.
Oh, with it, ready?
I'm sure it's no smoke building now.
Be like.
Oh. Affirmative vote.
Oh.
Abstentions actually I don't think count towards.
Majority. So we don't have,
We
So
have-
you
how
don't.
many people we have here?
So you don't,
we have,
so it fails,
We need 7 affirmative votes for it.
one short,
Just for the bag.
See, you're making all these great, I have 7 affirmative votes.
so you're one short.
Yeah.
You're one short, so it fails,
So good, Alex. No.
okay,
okay?
now we have to vote on the opposition.
David, that's what I was asking for the main motion.
Did that pass or did that?
Said- Main motion was the
Failed by-
balance of
oh.
the legislative matrix.
Is,
So now we have to vote again on this.
On the rest of them.
not including any of the legislative matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to vote on
Now we have to do the remainder of the
your
legislative.
votes,
Yeah.
So I move we approve the rest of the legislative matrix.
Okay,
Which is opposing 1886 and AB 25.
Motion.
You got it? It was second by Zane.
Dang.
Okay, so for the balance of the legislative matrix, Carson,
Yes.
Segundo,
Yes.
Pardino,
Yes.
Hawthorne,
Yes.
Herbosa,
Yes.
Lamita,
Yes.
and Beach.
Yes.
Rancho Curtis,
Yes.
Redondo Beach,
That's,
Rolling Hills,
Yes.
Rolling Hills Estates,
Yes.
SD4.
Abstain.
That one passes. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Presentation. Now matter digital democracy demonstration.
Right, and then we showed this a little bit to the steering committee, but we wanted to show you Cal Matters has this new way of following legislators that we thought was really fascinating, and David's gonna pull it up, and we thought we'd walk through our legislators and show you what you can do with any of the legislators. You go to Digital Democracy, calmatters.org, microphone, just.
Can't hear you with them.
Okay, you go to digitaldemocracycalmatters.org and you can pull up. You can search for your legislator's name. I'm sorry, I don't.
I don't know if they're on, but no, that'll.
It's not on. Oh, it's on. Okay, so here is Steve Bradford. We're gonna start with Steve Bradford. And David, do you want to explain or shall I, whatever?
I'll plug in, Rodney.
First of all, I think this is AI.
It is,
Supported.
it is AI supported.
And so what it does is it gives you a little bit of a background on the legislature. Within the legislature, kind of where their votes put them on the ideological scale. Gives you bill activity, funding sources to their campaigns and stuff. You get into detailed donations down here. And then they actually give you the bills that are authored by all of the legislators, committees that they serve on, interest groups that they, how they vote, and the ranking, whatever the interest group is. And then down here, if you want to listen to them speak on any specific bill, there's video clips from sessions in the legislature.
They take you exactly to where they were speaking.
And then it gets into data points on the district itself. And so you can do this for any state legislature, you can look for bills, a little bit of everything. It's just within the state, but it's a kind of a all-in-one place to get info on whoever your representatives are, beyond what might just be available on their websites or anything like that. So just a new tool for folks to learn more about.
This is an interesting one. This is candidate donations, where the donations are coming from. And if you zero in on, like, go to labor or something. Yeah, try that. Then it'll tell you which.
Public sector unions, transportation, general trade unions. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting tool that you can just kind of take a deep dive in whoever your legislators are. It's sponsored travel, all donations on behalf of the elected. Alan. And they give them these little badges if they kind of, I think, focus on one kind of subject area a lot. And so since Ben does a lot of environmental bills, he's earned, I guess, the environment badge. And like on this one, I guess he received 91% lower than average donations. So it's or independent expenditure, sorry.
Do they have the ability if something's not right, can a elected official reach out to them and say, I have this proof that this is, since it's doing AI, you could be pulling incorrect information.
I don't know. Probably. I mean, they might be able to reach out to the.
Seems
the
like you
digital
should-
democracy- or
okay.
to Cal Matters and
Okay.
maybe challenge a point.
I thought you might find this useful or just a good reason.
Is publicly available, just not necessarily all in one place.
Right. Have you seen this, Jeff?
I actually have not. I'm looking at it now.
Okay.
So is this a free service or some subscription?
Yes, it's free.
Okay.
Oh, it's just, yeah, anybody can.
It's digitaldemocracy.calmatters.org.
So now that the Supreme Court has said that we can take gifts of over $5,000, let's get on here
I'll have to add it to the section.
after the.
After the fact.
Have to report my gifts.
Creating options on votes. Yeah. Somebody brought a tip jar.
Just wanted to let you know, I'm really fascinated by it and it follows our exploration of AI and how it's being used.
It's interesting.
Okay. Well, thank you for that presentation. Now we're going to administrative items.
Right. Kim, do you want to do the first one?
Sure. So as our contractor, our services for legal have been pro bono for many, many, many years. And so that relationship changed when Mike Jenkins' firm changed hands, changed ownership. And so what we're finding is over the years, we're having, as we tap into services, we're having to pay for more and more of those services. And recently, one of those services we use quite a bit is HR. They give us a lot of HR support, making sure our employee manual is up to date, making sure that if there is any employee laws, we're taking care of them the way they're supposed to. And so the way the firm works is that you have to enter into an agreement on each sort of topic. And so this one that's coming before you today is the HR professional agreement to be able to access the attorney that would advise us on HR matters as needed, and it has their hourly rate. And then if we decide we need an attorney to work that specializes in another area for some other reason, we would have to enter into a similar agreement to access that type of technical legal support. So you might see more of these over time, but this is the first one, and they can't answer our questions. Like we were asking them some questions about the workforce violence.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, which is next, but that was one of the questions that we were asking. I said, can't we just put this in our employee manual, for example? So even something as simple as that, we have to enter into this agreement to access.
And I think that I don't know how many agreements like this you're going to see because I don't know if I'm saying things out of turn, but it looks like Mike Jenkins is providing, is maybe not going to be around as much as he has been over 20 years of free services. So it's been incredible. He's a highly recognized expert in this field. So as Mike Jenkins, we might have to, by the end of this year, which is what I'm sort of anticipating, go out with an RFP for legal services. We can't keep doing this with Best and Krieger. Once we find out what the future looks like, we will then stop all of this and do see if we can find a legal service. But Mike still advises. He tells us who in the firm is good, and he does all of that for pro bono, except there's two things Mike gets paid for. We are the administrator for Dominguez Channel, Joint Powers Authority, and they pay legal services. So we pay Mike whenever he does anything for that. And I think on Measure R&M, right?
Yeah.
You have legal services for Metro, we pay Mike. But otherwise, all the other services, he not only does them pro bono, but he steers us to the right leaders within the firm. So you'll hear more about this.
So we're asking for approval of this letter of engagement.
I
I have a question. Which one? Me?
Yeah, he was up first.
So is this in the budget and what is the budget cap? Because it doesn't have one, it just clearly, and who gets to make the decision? I mean, can any employee just call up, I want to check this out?
No, it all goes through me.
Yeah,
Well, there's nothing, I mean, this agreement doesn't have, I understand this is agreement with BBK. But I mean, where is the staff policy that would indicate what the budget cap would be and who is authorized so that someone's tracking the expenses, because these can add up very fast.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, we have a number in the budget, which hopefully Kim is finding.
Yes, I am.
And the staff does go through me, and you wouldn't put that in this agreement, but that is the way we've handled it for the last years.
Is that written down someplace, and if so, where?
I'm not sure if it's written in our policy manual or
So
not. I just know it's a standard.
the-
practice.
So the new budget amount, which this would be under, is $50,000 that we built into the budget. But no, what we could also do though is no staff does contacts the attorneys without asking Jackie. So that would be, and we would take disciplinary actions.
Well, there should be something, I mean, do you have an employee manual that basically does that?
We have an employee manual. I'm not sure that it actually says you can't do this, or you can't do that.
Yeah.
Contacting the legal. I mean, I don't think it's that specific. That's just been when you come in, you don't call the lawyer because it has to come through me.
Yeah.
And I don't think all of those things are written down.
No.
That would be obviously advisable, and maybe in this agreement would be best so that they get a call from some employee who doesn't know what's in the manual. Let's say it's an input in the manual, they don't know about it. If there's something in there that says they do not give advice for which you're going to be charged unless it's been authorized by the executive director.
Now, we could put something in there. We have not had a problem in 20 years. Not been an issue.
Mr. Chair, can
Now comes
you put something in the agreement that says, you're the only one authorized to approve, attorney.
I can ask her to add that
I
one.
mean, that just goes in the agreement.
I think
It does the same thing, right?
designate, it has to be, if
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
out of pocket,
Yeah,
that's can't wait on me. I think it would have to be me or my approved designate.
we could.
And then that's fine, as long as it's limited to that, because I think that should be for something that could really add up like this. Want to make sure.
We also have the check of the administrative officer. When we get close to getting, to buying things out of scope, we get a check on that. So, we do have checks and balances in our system.
Like, it would be good, like they know who the authorized person is and they have a check on it before they give the advice and bill for it. That could be added to the agreement.
Debbie,
I don't see a term in the
next, he was.
letter.
Correct.
I don't see a term in the letter. It says that it renews every year with the cost of living increase. And I also see that we can terminate it, but I don't see for how long this agreement is valid.
No, it stays in effect unless you terminate it.
Okay, so it's open-ended unless we say no.
Right, that's
All right.
correct.
Okay, David.
Jackie, this picks up on conversations we were having on over a
I
decade.
like his mic.
The COG has been very fortunate to have Mike Jenkins as its counsel, particularly given that he provides so much time pro bono. But inevitably, we knew this day was going to come. I just wanted to confirm what I think I heard you say, but the air conditioner's kind of loud.
Yeah.
And that is, the expectation is the COG will go out for a request for proposals for legal counsel. And to the extent that a generalist is engaged, how will that impact this agreement for a specialist, particularly if ultimately it isn't BBK, best figure that we choose? We can terminate it.
We would terminate it.
We would terminate the agreement.
Thank you.
So entertain a motion with the caveat that be requested. Who made the statement? Of,
About what should be included?
yes, the wording.
I can include it.
Okay.
Part of my motion. Okay, motion to approve with the inclusion that any representation for which the COG will be charged legal services must be verified, approved by the executive director or by her designee.
Okay,
Okay,
that's the motion.
Give
second.
us a second.
Okay. Zane, was you again, Zane?
Same.
Oh, okay.
Point person on a lot of these today.
I don't think that approves this agreement. It just says it adds what we want to hear about who gets to access services. I don't think your motion approves the agreement. I think it just,
Motion to approve, subject to the addition of
Okay.
that provision.
okay, what I heard was,
She didn't hear that. She didn't hear that specific.
Okay, sorry. I had said motion to approve, subject to, but
okay.
Yeah, recently.
Does the second agree to that addendum?
yes, he did.
Okay, David?
Any objections? Any abstentions?
Okay, the next item, and I'm a little leery about this because if you want to know loosey-goosey, this one is really loosey-goosey. There is a new law that says that we must by July first, have a workplace violence prevention policy, plan, not a policy, a plan. And we were notified of this about 2 weeks ago. It fell through the crack of all of our organizations that we use to let us know when things happen. We actually sent it out to the city managers and several cities contacted us and didn't seem to know. So this did not get highly publicized. We, just recently, yesterday, for example, I found out that there's another COG that has a plan, which I've looked over and I really think it's a great template. But what we're asking you tonight, we have it here, and the reason why we didn't send it out in advance is because we're asking you to approve this pretty much as a draft. It's based on a state template.
Yeah.
It modifies it a little bit for us, but we are in no way intending to use this. We're intending to use it to comply with the law that you have something by July first. And in the next 2 months, between now and August, we will come back with something that is tailored to our COG. But we are worried about any fines that we might have if we don't do this by July first. So this was our compromise, is if you could approve this, knowing that it's a draft and knowing that we'll be back within 2 months with the final.
So are we gonna designate it as a draft and say we're approving in principle, subject to it being brought back with final terms?
Let me jump in. That's a really good question. So, because I've been having to deal with this too, and I used the same template and created one for my office in the last 3 days. And my head hurts a lot. Anyway,
That's what we
and there's two people in my office and I'm one of them. So like, who do we send this form to? I write it to myself anyway. But the answer is you have to have a policy in place, not a draft policy. So we have to have a policy in place, but we can replace that policy at any time. So we must adopt a policy by Sunday night. But then after that, one of the first things in here is, when was this policy last updated? You'll see that, matter of fact, there it is, sure enough, on page 2. No, anyway, you have to have that in there somewhere of when it was last updated. And of course, it's new, but we'll be able to say it was last updated on June 27th. And now this current version supersedes it.
It's on page 1.
It's on page 1. Okay.
And I also feel very strongly that we should take this to our staff. And our next staff meeting is July 9th. So
It actually has to go to staff.
so we really want to get their thoughts incorporated into it as well.
Question. I get it that it's temporary, but looking at the record keeping, and it says the 5 years of incident logs and that. I mean, I take it you probably don't have any potentially, but does this create a problem for your staff to have 5 years of logs and record keeping? Because you need to probably, once you implement this, you're gonna have to have this ready to go.
Right.
Are you willing to?
We have to do it.
We have.
Okay, so this language here is required anyhow.
Yeah, that's actually one of the requirements, that you have to retain it.
Okay.
So
So what actually is, all of this is mandatory, right? So we're really not other than rubber stamping
It could
it.
definitely be in a
things
better
that
format.
They're optional are the little details, some of the minor bullet points as to what you're going to do to make this happen. Like, what changes are you going to make in your office architecture to make it less prone to somebody breaking into the office and doing something? Literally, things like that. How are you going to set up alarms? Where are you going to put cameras if necessary? These are all listed on and you could put this, and this. I just got tired and deleted all those parts at the end.
template is not industry specific. It's for
Right.
any industry that is in California.
Except
I think healthcare is exempt from this, but it could be for a bank. So what a bank might adopt is different than what we might adopt, for example. So that's the fine tuning that we need to,
Right.
I think, take the extra time to go through and make sure it's correct for our organization.
So we need to approve this as it is, not as a draft, but it's
Yeah,
going to be
you
the
really need to
plan,
approve it as
as a
it
plan,
is.
as a plan.
So, Mr. Chair, I have a question, looking at periodic inspections as an example. Are we sure that we're in compliant of all these things if we say yay verily, or is there a point where we need to be compliant?
We don't have a policy right now, so we would be
Right,
going.
but I'm just simply saying, here's this periodic inspections and it says you have to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm just,
Once we approve it, we'll start having to do that.
okay, so it doesn't have to be, it's not out of the gate necessarily.
Right,
My-
Not prorated.
right. Once it's approved, then we have to start implementing everything.
Yes. We'll probably have to do a
It's
training.
after the fact.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll have to do
yeah, because that was
Right,
my
right.
concern. I'd hate to
Yeah.
be non-compliant because you approved a policy that you're not in compliant with.
Right. No, that doesn't, yeah.
When, I'm sorry, when do you think realistically you would be able to get a replacement policy?
Since
We
month.
have one we just got yesterday, which we like a lot. But the steering committee's so close, I want to take it to the steering committee, so it'll probably be August. And so I'm saying by the August board meeting, we should have this back.
Okay, so can the motion incorporate that this, that the replacement policy that's specific to the COG shall
If
be
you make that motion.
approved?
I want to say any modifications to this policy so that it looks like
Okay,
really adopting.
okay, got it.
Gotta be.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so I move that we approve this workplace violence prevention plan and that the modifications to this plan that are specific to the COG's needs shall be presented no later than the August board meeting for approval, unless the board, for good cause, finds a need to extend it further.
I have a motion in a second.
I second.
Okay, the properly moved in second, David?
Any opposition?
That's the plan.
Any abstentions?
Have a committee.
Thank you. SBESC.
We have some fun things to talk about now. So I'm turning over to Kim.
So one of the things that we wanted to share with you is that working with the SoCal Ren, we have a program that's called Kids for Kids. And what we do is provide energy efficiency educational materials to third and fourth graders. And the kids have a curriculum. The teacher presents the curriculum. The teacher gets a little bit of training also. And then they're like light bulbs and all these different things that they could do, night lights. And then if they implement all of these at their home, and if at least I think it's 60%, then the classroom gets $1,000 also then that can be used for something. And so teachers have done lots of different things. We had one teacher that wanted to like enhance their science section of their classroom. So teachers do all different kinds of things with this $1,000. And so we had a Hawthorne School, which was Zella Davis Elementary School, and we had a special celebration for those kids on June 4th. And we had council member from the city come out. I don't know what you want to talk a little bit about it, but we also have a video. So you want us to share the video and then you can do a little talking about it? Okay. This was Hawthorne Cable did this for,
Sound?
The energy efficiency.
There's no sound.
Sound.
Part of the efficiency.
what happens when you have multiple computers running off to the side?
Playing or no?
We visited their school to bring you the details. Zella Davis Elementary was one of 3 schools from the South Bay and the only school in Hawthorne to earn $5,000 through the SoCal Ren Kids for Kids program.
We are so excited and we're very proud of, again, just everybody working together for such a good cause. $5,000 is a lot, so yes, that's so nice.
5 third-grade classrooms participated in the program that taught students the importance of energy efficiency by taking home this kit with a nightlight, faucet aerator, efficient shower head, and LED light bulbs, and incorporated any or all items into their daily lives at home.
How do we design a program that not only benefits the environment, but also the schools and supports them so that they advocate for climate change and resiliency?
They make a big impact for the classroom because if 65% of the students participate within this program and bring back a postcard that says they installed these items, the teacher receives a $1,000 grant.
Participating in Kits for Kids is not only a program sent home, but is also integrated with their academic curriculum and what they are learning at school.
This program is super cool because when I first got the kit, my auntie was like, I like this light bulb because it also helps us not use a lot of technology, and the kit also helped us not take a long time in the shower. Installing the nightlight, it really helped because when we had our first nightlight, we really left it on there like for a long time. So it really helped us.
I think I was most excited about the knowledge transfer that they had about, what types of energy. They understood that climate change at such a young age is an issue and a crisis, and how the different aspects of what they do in everyday life impacts that.
This is the second year Zella Davis participates in this program, and they plan to continue to do so again in the future, as it has helped their students and the school in more ways than one. To learn more about the Kids for Kids program and to participate, visit their website at socalren.org/Kids for Kids. Michael's.
Do a close-up on Alex.
So did you have something?
Oh, no, the video speak for himself, because the kids was very excited about it, the program, they were talking about their sister spending a long time taking shower, so now they have a timer, at home, and all they talk about the lights. So it was excited to see those kids excited, because, basically the third graders going to fourth graders talking about saving energy and the environmental. So it was excited to see that. So thank you for inviting me in.
And you did a great job. The kids love me. He gave his speech and everything. I'm sorry they didn't pick up your speech there. Great job. And we're continuing to promote this throughout the South Bay. They have a waiting list right now for the schools because it's so popular. But we're going to keep working on trying to get more money and I'd love to get all of our schools involved in this program. So that's one thing. Sorry. Oh, yes.
Does the $5,000 go towards buying the kits for them or towards just school generally?
Just the classroom to use however the teacher sees fit.
And Kim, is it only for public schools or are all schools eligible?
Yes, it's only for public schools. That's correct. Yeah. Okay, so just wanted to also let you know that our team went to the California Climate and Energy Collaborative Conference, and we were able to present on our facility equipment inventory, which we have done now 46 buildings and have identified over 1 million kilowatt hours that could be saved if we could get some energy efficiency, just lighting alone, not to mention the HVACs. And we had, you can't really see the poster that well, but we were invited, there you go. We were invited, I know it's very dense, but it's a little bit of a technical conference. And so all the posters look like this, but ours was actually prettier. It had like colors and images where the other ones were all just text. And this was done by the SoCalRen. They're so excited about our program. I had all kinds of people coming over and asking me about this because remember, this is an inventory of equipment that's at city facilities that nobody really knew about until now. I mean, every city knew, but not the decision makers, not the CPUC. And so this conference also had staff from the CPUC. I was able to bring them over to the poster and say, just fund the project. Don't make them fill out 1 million paperwork. Don't make the city have to, do a little bit of this and a little bit of, just fund the projects. And so we're gonna take the show on the road and we're going to really push it. One of the things I said to them is we're gonna start a clock. And for every month that you don't fund this, we're gonna tell you how much greenhouse gas is going into the environment and how much energy is not being saved.
Great. Wow.
And so they said, we've never heard it said that way. And so that's what we're gonna do. So I wanted to, and do we have the picture of the staff too? Yeah, there's Talia and Eleanor, who are the people in the field doing this work. They're actually, Eleanor is our Civic Spark fellow, Talia is our staff person, but Talia started this work when she was a fellow. So it's also workforce and, development too. So it's really fantastic. Everybody loved it. So I wanted to let you know that. Also, we found out at the conference that the AQMD, I think she's going to talk about it a little bit, has just passed a rule on June 7th that for commercial and residential, that affects water heaters and boilers, that they're going to have to be changing the technology from gas using starting in 2026. And right now for our public agencies, we have the heat pump water heater program where some cities will get this replacement at no cost if you're in a disadvantaged community. And so we're working really hard with the city of Inglewood right now. But for the other cities, you can also get a significantly discounted unit. I think you only, you have to pay like 20% or something. It's like very, very good incentive. It's like a nice incentive. So we've used our facility equipment inventory. We identified all the ones that we know in the buildings, and we've reached out to all the cities with that list and said, are you interested in doing this? And now we got this new piece of information that really is hopefully will push them to move forward on those, because at some point it's going to be a problem as they start to implement this rule over time. It's going to go from 2026 to 2033. And every year it's going to add more units based on size. So some of your sizes will be smaller, but now's the time to take advantage of it. So I wanted to let you know that. And then the last thing is, the LA County, we're working with them for the decarbonization grant that's specifically for disadvantaged, well, no, it's income burden communities or households. It's for residential income households. And it's a direct install where they'll come in and they're like a concierge and they'll work with the homeowner or like the building owner if it's like a multifamily and say, you can replace your stove, you can replace your water heater, you can replace all these things for electrification, and it's no cost to the resident. And so hopefully they'll get this grant. And we were able to work with, we engaged CBOs, community-based organizations, and we had the Niles Foundation help and the South Bay Outreach Center all going to participate in sharing this information if they get the grant. And they all will receive $20,000 a year for the 4 to 5 year period. So it's also helping to build sustainability in those community-based organizations as well, long-term sustainability. So anyway, that's all I have.
Good job. Good job. Thank you for that.
And you're going to talk about the legislation separate, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll come later. Okay. Should we continue with substance, other stuff? Let's go to homeless services.
Substance abuse.
Yes, yeah.
Can I have the mic?
I don't know if it's working. Is it?
Yeah, it's
It's on, okay.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So there was an executive committee board meeting. This is a new executive committee on homeless regional alignment, or regional homeless alignment. And I mentioned this to you all before. It's a new accountability body overseeing all of homeless services in the county, made up of the following people. This is the first time the cities have had a seat at the table. And so this came out of the Blue Ribbon Commission that our previous chairman Horvath chaired, and our current representative is Paige Kalajervic, council member from Redondo Beach. We're invited to do a presentation tomorrow. Unfortunately, the meeting got canceled. I thought I'd do the presentation for you all tonight anyways. You
made the presentation to Supervisor Barger.
Yeah.
Who was the chair of this committee first, and she asked for it to be presented to the committee.
Right. And so the presentation, the topic tomorrow was going to be about Measure H and how our cities have utilized Measure H. And I was going to start off with an exercise and quizzing the body about what the homeless count number in LA County was in 2022, because that was the last time we actually got city level data. And that number is 69,000 people in LA County. It's a big number. And then I want to go through actually minusing the homeless count in LA City. It's 42,000. Minus the homeless count in unincorporated areas of LA County, 8,500. And then the net homeless count in the 84 cities, which include all of you all, is 14,500. This includes Glendale, Pasadena, and Long Beach because they have their own COCs. So in the 84 cities, it's 14,500. If you then divide that by the 84 cities, the average homeless count is 174. So the point I'm trying to make is that a team of local mayors and council members and staff can solve a homeless crisis of 174 people. And that's why local jurisdiction funding is so important. And so you can do the same exercise in unincorporated areas. There's on average 84 homeless people in an unincorporated area. The median homeless count in the 15 council districts in LA City is 2,000. And if you want to break that up even further, in LA City, they have this concept called neighborhood councils, and there's 99 of them. And there's only 400 homeless people per neighborhood council. And these neighborhood councils are very sophisticated. They have funding, they have working groups on homelessness. And so they can be very effective in the fight against homelessness. So we just want to stress that, you know, what we've been doing has been a top-down approach. And what we want to start doing with the cities is a bottoms-up approach. We can empower our local communities with resources and data so that they can tackle their homelessness problem. Now, I wanted to give the board also a summary of what we've been using our funding. And we only get $2 million a year. It's not much, but we try to make the most of it. And we use this money for our cities and also in CD15 and unincorporated. So how we use our funding is basically filling in the gaps in the system. So the column on the left is what the system provides, and the column on the right is what we provide as a COG. So the system prioritizes high acuity clients or homeless folks, neighbors. And these clients have mental health issues, substance use. And so they address this by providing permanent supportive housing for those folks and ICMS caseworkers. So what we do is we fund low acuity beds like shared housing and SRO beds. We also provide case management. The system actually does not provide street case management. There's this misperception that LAHSA provides case management. They don't. They're strictly outreach. They go and approach someone and ask them if they want shelter. If they don't, there's not much they can do other than handing them some water and try to reach them the next time. And so we fund street case management. So our case managers are actually taking someone from the street and following them along the way until they get housing or shelter. There are wrong doors in the system. So for example, if you're a family sleeping in your car and you get approached by an outreach worker, that outreach worker can't really do anything for that family because there is no such thing as a street family outreach worker in the system. You have to go to the access center, which for us is in San Pedro at Harbor Interfaith, to get service if you're a family. And so our case managers, though, there's no barriers. They can serve both families and adults. And then problem solving is something that the system provides for like security deposits, transportation expenses, and that takes like 48 weeks to generate a security deposit check. And we know no landlord is going to wait 48 weeks. So with our client aid funds, we can do same-day security deposits, and we have an 80% housing success rate. So those are examples how we use our $2 million. The reason why this topic got brought up is because the mayor of Palmdale brought up something at the very first meeting, and that is their city, and we hear our city say this too, Torrance says this a lot, we contribute tens of millions of dollars to Measure H every year, but we only get hundreds of thousands of dollars back. And so where is this money going, and why aren't we seeing the results? More importantly, how is Measure H impacting my city? And what the county provides, and we've seen this pie chart a lot, is that most of the funding for Measure H is going to permanent supportive housing, that orange part of the slice of the pie. 296 of the $600 million is going towards permanent supportive housing. So they're operating these permanent supportive housing units. And then $181 million is going to that orange pie, which is the interim housing units. And those are like LAHSA controlled interim housing. So like Torrance, Redondo, Hawthorne with their pallet shelters, none of that is funded really by Measure H. So it's system shelters that they're funding. And so they say, what their message has always been is that your cities are indirectly benefiting from the spending. So they have people from, say, Lomita or Torrance in the permanent supported housing sites. But the question is that if the mayor of Palmdale is going to their constituents and say, okay, hey, look, guys, Measure H is helping us. They're just investing in permanent supported housing and interim housing. The natural question he's going to get asked is, well, okay, that's great, but how many Palmdale residents did that help? And he won't know that. None of us knows that. None of us, in fact, we don't know, none of our cities actually know that either, because there's no data to support it. They don't collect the data, and they don't collect a lot of the data. So our cities don't know inflow, outflow. We don't know our demographics. We don't know how many seniors we have in our cities, how many veterans. We don't know the prevalence of mental illness. We don't substance use, shelter data. I just talked to CD15 at Tim McCoster's office, and whenever they need shelter data, they have to call 3 different nonprofit providers. So there's been no coordinated effort to provide data to local communities. All we get really is system level data, but that doesn't do us any good. And our constituents, frankly, don't really care about system level data. They only care about what's happening in their communities. And so what we wanted to do, Page College Rhetoric wanted to do a motion coming out of the Blue Ribbon Commission. One of the recommendations was for increased access to data and develop formulas to track Measure H at a city by city level. So this came out of the Blue Ribbon Commission. It was one of the 7 recommendations. There were only 7, and one of them was on data. And in addition, the new Measure A that's going to now be on the ballot in November is providing for $15 million for data and accountability. And so what we wanted to do is have the leadership table look at immediately creating a countywide data regime to provide data back to local jurisdictions with or without the passage of Measure A, and have this recommendation be brought back to the executive committee in 120 days. And so that was our plan. And this is the last slide. We think data can create not only support for Measure A, but also it can help our cities create more housing for our homeless neighbors. And the proof is in Lila O'Meara. So she is our best case manager in SPA 8. And she just recently got an award from Assembly Member Al Manafsucci as Woman of the Year. The community loves her. Councilmember Elijah will attest to that. She is very effective, and every community across the county has someone like Lila in their community who goes above and beyond for their clients. And so the interesting thing about Lila is she's city funded. So she kind of operates outside of the system. And because of that, I can track her data. And so we've been tracking her data. And what's interesting to note is that, so this data is showing her permanent housing placements. And the blue bars are placements into permanent supported housing. And so you can see the majority of the time she's putting people in permanent supported housing. The green bars are placements into the private rental market, so apartments. So what this chart shows in Redondo Beach, she's pretty much shut out of the private rental market because her clients can't pass credit checks. She doesn't have a security deposit, things like that. It's really hard for her to get clients into an apartment. But when permanent supported housing opens, for example, Fairview opened in January and March of that year, she was able to get 9 people in. West Haven opened in November, she was able to get 3 people in. The rest of the time of the year, she's kind of treading water. And so that really supports, with data, we can really show our constituents that, yes, Measure H is helping Lila get people housed. And so that's why data is really important, so that we can have that messaging to our constituents. And oh, by the way, when we showed this to Redondo Beach officials, it also really opened their eyes, and they realized that they needed to, secure more housing to help Lila. And so Project Home Key is actually opening next week. They're doing a soft launch, and they're seeking some federal funding from Representative Ted Lieu to see how they can secure more affordable housing in the city. So that was the presentation that we were hoping to give tomorrow, but we're going to try to figure out a way to get on the calendar again. Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions?
Why was it canceled?
They don't have quorum. There's homeless count is being released tomorrow, and then the Inglewood State of the City is tomorrow as well.
Ronson, what's the orange bar, and where's reflected the placements into the pallet shelter?
Oh, so this is just housing placements. So pallet would be interim housing. So that wouldn't be reflected in this chart. The orange one is shared housing. This is prior to the shared housing is what Manhattan Beach was doing at the time that we adopted in 2023, and that's very successful. Torrance is heavily using that one right now. But yeah, this was before we adopted it. So she had one that year into shared housing.
And are most of these people in the blue bars coming from the palace shelters?
Yes.
Yeah, David?
Ronson, Jackie had brought to our attention that this Measure A, when it was in formulation, when it, in a rather, let's say, less transparent way than it ideally should have been, provided some change in the funding formula. Now that it's qualified for the ballot, can you just briefly summarize how it will fit for Measure A if it's approved?
Yeah, if it is approved, it's going to be bigger tax, right? It's going from 1/4 cent to 1/2 cent. And we will, right now, the pot of money is, so the blue one, that's local jurisdiction, 6%, $40.5 million. We're really only getting $20 million. The rest of the $20 million are using for pathway home and cabinet resolution. Some of our cities are benefiting from that, but it's really $20 million. That pie is supposed to grow to $100 million. And so I project we'll probably get anywhere in the ballpark of $5 to $10 million. Although Tommy Newman was saying something different yesterday.
Yeah, the city managers had a presentation yesterday, and we're thinking of waiting till about August to see how this all shakes out to bring it back. But Tommy Newman from United Way said that we're guaranteed for the South Bay subregion 2.4 million. We're getting 2.2 now. We're guaranteed 2.4 in the local solutions fund. And then the rest of the money is going to housing and La Casa, which is the housing authority that would give money to trusts and COGs and cities to build housing. The total, I don't know what it's going for one. The total is 17 million that our COG would get. And I don't know how he's proving that.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of things we need. I don't want to bring it back to you because
Everybody's attention.
city managers,
Years ago.
there's been a lot of questioning about what's going on. But the city managers just heard this and they're planning to hear more about it later too. It's very unclear. We're being, and I don't know if you're gonna mention this, but Ronson is staffing Page so that we can be right there at these meetings where this money, these groups are gonna be handing out this money. And we also went to John Marish from Beverly Hills, who sits on the La Casa board, and Ronson has offered to staff him as well. So we are staffing him now as well, so that we can be bringing you reports and we can be sitting at the table.
Thank you. Makes sense.
We should just stop everybody.
You had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to underscore, we did tackle the Measure H issue earlier in the LA County Division, I believe. And there was a lot of information about how cities are not getting money. They're providing so much more in terms of sales tax to Measure H and very little in return. And that's across LA County. We've been hearing that. So anything we can do, if we're going to be able to push this, that would be for the Blue Ribbon Commission executive committee that was created, correct? This is
No, so it's interesting because it's a citizen measure. These committees can't campaign on it. So they can only give out informational information. And so the campaigning has to come from the nonprofit world. So the United Way is leading the charge.
Well, what I'm trying to say, that the LA County Board of Supervisors adopted the Blue Ribbon Commission
Yes.
for the executive committee, which has city representation on it. And they're supposed to come up with a LA County plan.
Oh, yeah.
Homelessness.
Yeah.
And this particular measure, and then having accountability, what cities, who's being benefited, where the money's going to, and how it's being brought back. That type of thing should be going to our representatives on that Blue Ribbon Commission.
Yeah, and that's why they were formed, just to do exactly that. And they're also working on a whole new entity to also oversee all this. There might be a new single person that the executive committee will work together with. It's kind of unclear what the relationship is going to be, but there's supposed to be a new entity that's going to help oversee all the homelessness response in the county as well. And
So that was the discussion at your actually LA division meeting, right, where we got that presentation. And I think the intent would be they're gonna form a whole new entity, if you will, to manage those funding. And the point that we got out of that was, again, thinking about local control, cities will have a voice at that table. So again, I don't think, back to your point, Lonson, it's not the Blue Ribbon Commission, it's a whole new entity that's gonna be formed in conjunction with that measure to go manage that funding.
Well, I think it's intended to include that existing executive.
There is no exec.
The Board of Supervisors adopted.
well, it's the executive committee that.
Yeah, there is no Blue Ribbon Commission.
The Blue Ribbon Commission formed the executive committee, so, but you're right, there's no Blue Ribbon Commission right now, it's just the executive committee.
It was a recommendation from the Blue Ribbon
Yes.
Commission that the Board of Supervisors adopted. And actually, there was, it was talking about I know Supervisor Horvath made some changes and some people for the group that advises them. But it was approved by the Board of Supervisors, because otherwise it couldn't exist. It was just a recommendation to the Blue Ribbon Commission.
Right.
Jeff?
One other point that I think is important also in this new measure, it is it's a half cent, but it ignores your local sales
Oh,
tax.
yes.
So should this measure pass, it simultaneously repeals Measure H. So you get a half cent sales tax space back for your local sale if you wish to in the future. Add that to your something that you want to fund locally. But this ignores the cap. So you will see cities that actually will go up and be beyond the sales tax cap as we now know it.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So much for the cap.
Oh, yeah, bang.
They think that's gonna pass?
So
Good luck.
the 2.2 million that we currently get, moving that up to 2.4 million, but that's for it.
No, it'll be moved up to like 5 to 10 million.
Well,
within the
not
budget.
according to the chart we saw. It's what he was saying. Well, anyway, we.
We should be getting more, because the pie is gonna go from 40 million to 100 million.
I guess the question is, will this give us more consistent funding from an outside source for pallet shelters and Lila, to keep Lila hired and another navigator that they need to hire? Is Measure A gonna give us that kind of regular support? Because we're applying for grants, right? To do this, the expansion of our pallet shelter, we're going to HealthNet and we're going to the county supervisor and getting $1.5 million for that. But every city should have that opportunity to deal with, to address its homelessness and, when we.
It remains to be seen how they're gonna dole out the funding. If it's status quo, it's gonna come to the COG, the additional funding, which I think is gonna be 5 to 10 million. And that would be double, that'll be double what we have. And so there will be more room to fund. But I mean, your annual budget on the pallet shelter is 2 million by itself. So we still need more help, is the answer.
I haven't seen anything that suggests that this will fund even what cities are currently doing through their general fund to address homelessness. I think it's certainly gonna give you some extra money to play with, but I don't think it'll even make up for what you're already doing, in my opinion.
And the board of directors is, the people that are gonna be handling this money are the supervisors, the Mayor Bass, and a couple of LA City Council members, and then our 3 city representatives. So the question is that gonna be consistent every year? They're in charge, so how do you know?
But this won't have a sunset clause on it.
And this says
sunset
no
date.
sunset
No.
clause. Says no, but we don't wanna say yes, no, or maybe. We really need to know more, because it's very confusing.
Information.
Yeah.
Need to pass by.
50%, that's why they did it the way they did it. If the supervisors had put it on the ballot, it would have been 75, whatever, 66. Yeah.
Yeah, 2/3.
Ronson, do you have anything to say on senior services?
Senior services, we're looking into financial conservatorship of seniors. We're seeing a lot of seniors losing all their social security. So we're trying to find speakers on that and see how we can partner to maybe better protect our seniors through some sort of financial conservatorship method. There's financial conservatorship abuse too, so we have to be careful for that as well.
Conservatorships are a very long process. I just tell you that much. So I don't know if that's a realistic, maybe more things like power of attorney or something interim while a conservatorship is.
These
okay.
power of attorney.
It's a very huge, long, drawn out thing.
If you have on
If you know any speakers,
We do, yes, it's speaking.
Check with our chief.
Oh, okay.
I think we can see yourself right now.
Transportation.
Transportation is Mike Fulton here?
He was on.
Okay, there he is. Mike, what happened at the, and I guess we also have, we have some here. Mike, do you want to talk about the Metro Board meeting today?
Mike. He's watching the debate.
Want to help us?
Sorry, first of all, I want to introduce Andrew here. He's going to be helping us out in filling my role in the South Bay. Sorry for the surprise, but I've been promoted with the director's position.
Oh,
wow.
Getting,
Congratulations.
great headline. But moving forward then, in terms of outreach and support, please, reach out to Andrew and he can help you out with whatever your transportation needs are in your local city. With that though, real briefly, and if you want to chime in today, they took up the issue of moving forward with security issues at Metro. So that was a big discussion. It took 3 hours of the board meeting. They're basically fact finding, trying to find out what the best option is, whether the security should be dealt with through an internal Metro police force. They had all 3 police chiefs there, both from Long Beach and also from the sheriff department and LAPD. So I think they're just really doing fact finding, trying to find out the best way to use our dollars to help with security on the county and on Metro system. So those are the key items. We had the vote last month on the sea line extension. So we have moving forward with additional studies on the project for the extension to Torrance. So we'll be doing various studies about what's in the right of way. So we're going to be dealing with utilities and doing some exploration to figure out where things are and what we can do and make it safer for the public. So those are the main issues. I think that's about it at the moment. It's been busy enough.
You should,
Any question?
Quick one. Any estimated time frame on the sea line study?
2081. 18 to
2041, 51?
So the sea line extension. So the plan is now is to come back in 18 to 24 months. And so that's, you're taking it an extra level of engineering. It's an engineer with those. So you're going probably from like a environmental level of like, I think we're at like 5% now. We're going to be taking it up to maybe 10% just to really understand what's out there and to better survey the property so we know how wide and short it is. And so all of that's going on over the next few months. The other study that I just will also give you a heads up, we're going to be rolling out a project on the 405, the curve in Carson at Wilmington. And so that environmental work is going to be starting probably at about the next, 2 to 3 months. You'll be getting some notices about that, but it's primarily in the city of Carson.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I wanted to just mention, letters will go out to your city managers hopefully tomorrow that will ask your city manager to sign a letter. This is coming from Chris and in the transportation committee. We've been asked to go to all of the projects that we have on the list and ask you, some are very, very old, and ask whether there's still important projects to you, to your city. And if there's still ongoing projects, then we would like the city manager to certify you're still interested. If they're really not, and if you look at them and say cost has escalated and it doesn't make any sense anymore, then we want to know so we can turn it back. Our money is not free, it's not, we don't have more money than we know what to do with anymore. We really need to be very smart about how we're spending it with the Measure R and Measure M. And so those letters will go out to ask you to recertify the projects that you have.
Will that then go back to the transportation committee?
Yeah, yeah, it'll come, I mean, what we're doing is we're doing all of the, looking at all the policies and everything in the local match, and we'll bring it all back in September probably.
Local travel network?
Okay, on the local travel network, we, Ann Tsai and Jake Romoff have been working on what is apparently a very big issue in at least part of the South Bay, and that's e-bike safety. And they have a proposal that they want to present, and then we would love to get your feedback on this. So they're going to give you a little presentation.
Something?
And with my.
So this kind of came from this month's steering committee. It was talked about briefly and we saw a lot of interest in it, especially with a lot of what's in the news right now with e-bike riders, especially those in middle and high school, acting recklessly and kind of villainizing the e-bike industry. And what's rolling out from this is e-bike sticker programs. And so based off of what we heard from last steering committee, we decided to do some research on the program, some case studies in neighboring school districts that have implemented, and we're here to report back what we've learned. So what is a sticker program? So essentially it's a registration / like permitting program for students who bike to school. And what this means is these students have to take a registered e-bike safety course. This could be an online course, an in-person course, or in some school districts, it's a presentation run by the police department. And what this presentation or safety course gets them is literally a sticker on their bike with a number. And without that sticker, they're not able to ride or park their bike at the school. So it's essentially a permit for their e-bike, in a way, kind of a license. Yeah.
So we took stock of the schools in the South Bay that have started to implement these sticker programs. And so this chart shows you everything we've got. So the one middle school in Hermosa Beach, El Segundo Middle School, Ridgecrest Intermediate in PV, and all Redondo Beach K-8 schools have either started a program this past school year or will implement this fall. And so they have partnered some with sheriff's departments, some with nonprofit organizations, and also some private vendors. But it is notable that all of these programs are relatively new, and there are no high schools that are participating in this type of registration permit sticker program yet. And they're all concentrated on the beach city side, along with this well. Next slide, please. Okay, so who are the players? We have on the screen two of the most active private vendors in the South Bay. One is e-bike Sense. E-bike Sense is ran by Megan Lamb. She's an educator who does really hands-on training, a classroom session, and she takes students out on the road. She's partnered with El Segundo and Redondo Beach and is doing all of Hermosa's training. And then Pedal Ace is an online option. So it's like a traffic school essentially for a 12-year-old boy. And it's,
Girl.
it's about 2 hours, 90 minutes, a 90-minute course. And they have really put in place these mechanisms so that students cannot fast forward, rewind. They can't be on their phones while they're taking this course. And they have to pass every section with 100% score on a quiz. And aside from that, there are a few nonprofits in this space and then law enforcement giving out safety presentations. But yeah, that next slide.
So really what we're looking at with a sticker program is it's great those who have implemented, but as we all know, especially in the beach cities, the e-bike problem is kind of getting out of hand and e-bikes are not going anywhere. They've grown 269% from 2019 to 2022. In fact, just this last year, the third highest selling EV was an e-bike. It wasn't a car. It was that brand right there, is electric. So the market is just growing and we have more incentives coming out, such as an e-bike incentive program, which should be launching this year. And so part of our goal is to promote micromobility. That is what the LTN is to get rid of that second car. And what we're seeing is the current perception around e-bikes and these vehicles, is preventing a lot of adoption by adults and senior citizens who view these as an unsafe way to ride because of how they're currently being used. And what we want to do is, especially on the more inland cities, is as the e-bikes aren't that large there now, but we know they're coming because we can see the data in the demand. We want to be proactive instead of reactive. We want to be able to form a plan or a template for one so that when this craze does and inevitably will hit those areas, we're ready for it and could save time, money. And as unfortunately we've seen in many cities up and down the coast of Southern California, it can save lives.
So we sat down with a few school districts in our neighboring communities. Carlsbad Unified and Irvine Unified School Districts have started operating e-bike sticker programs district-wide during the 2023 to 24 school year. So Carlsbad in particular, they received emergency funding from the California Highway Patrol after the city declared a state of emergency following several high-profile accidents. And so through that funding, they were able to train their police department through the San Diego Bike Coalition. And so over the past school year, they have held 8 to 10 safety presentations. So students are required to attend one of those sessions, then register online, and then receive their e-sticker to ride and park at school. And then students are required to renew their permit annually. Right now, the program is administered at the district level. I would say they're a relatively small school district with 11,000 students and 6,400 secondary students, so middle school and high school. But next school year, the administration of the program will be handed off to the individual principals. And then Irvine School District is a larger school district. They have about 19,000 secondary students, and the police department holds 5 safety presentations at the beginning of the school year. Each school decides how to run the program and how to enforce it. One thing that is notable is that the middle school students, they have to attend with the parents. So the parents are sitting in on the safety presentation with their child. And then they must recomplete the course, not every year, but when they transition from middle school to high school is when they need to retake. But I do want to emphasize that both of these case studies, it's a safety presentation. They're sitting in an auditorium probably, and the police officers talking at them. It's not as hands-on. They're not actually getting on a bike and doing drills or doing a bike rodeo.
And with Irvine, we met with the executive director of secondary education, and he is going to be following up with their police department. So hopefully we can get some metrics from him on incidences and citations written, so we can get some data for you at a later time.
Yeah. Oh, and also both Irvine and Carlsbad, they enjoy the luxury of the city and the school district and the police department being self-contained. So the police department only really covers that jurisdiction where the school district is. Whereas, other school districts in the South Bay may be covered by multiple police departments. So there is that logistical factor. So we have been looking at some potential funding opportunities and start to pursue some sub-regional approach to addressing bike safety and sticker programs at the sub-regional level. So Safe Streets for All, SS4A, is the most time-sensitive funding opportunity that would be submitting for funding this August. And then there's some other potential pots of money include Metro Safe Routes to School, the South Coast AQMD, and then Caltrans Sustainable Communities grants.
So next step, we'd love to hear your feedback on these, but this is the framework that we're working with. We've conducted research outside of the South Bay and looked at some successful case studies, and now we want to look internal. We want to meet with people from the school districts, such as superintendents, police departments, and very importantly, PTAs. And then once we've done that and gathered our needs assessment and met back with you, we'd like to pursue funding to create a template for district or implementation so that we can have a unified program that can be easily replicated across cities and is very easy to implement essentially. So yeah, thank you.
I want to say this before Mr. Councilman Lesser says anything. They also have met with Joe Franklin because he is so involved in all of this. So they got some ideas from him as well.
Thank you. David, you had a question? Well, I know Zane hand is up.
First of all, that's a terrific presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting this time into it and presenting it as well as you have. I would welcome a copy of the PowerPoint to Jackie if that would be possible. This is going through the school districts of different sizes, and I think just one suggestion for your research might be capacity. Schools are overburdened as it is, have limited staffs, limited budgets, and that's one of the challenges I think our school district has faced. I'm just wondering to what extent you're exploring, if you're going to come up with a template, how schools have successfully managed a program like this. When if you think about all the points of contact, school district has to be involved with monitoring, ensuring, following up on students, actually checking whether there's a sticker in place. So I would be very interested in some of that practical data for our own schools. Thank you for that presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you for that feedback. And at the Carlsbad and Irvine level, one was managed by the district, Carlsbad, and one by the individual school, Irvine. So we got to see a bit of both perspectives. And it did seem like from a capacity wise, it wasn't that demanding. Obviously, these are smaller school districts, but especially with the third party safety courses in the South Bay, when we spoke to Megan and Pedalace, they essentially, upon completion of course, just send a list of the students to the administration. Scaling that obviously is going to look different across the whole school district. And that's something we would love to learn about more as we meet with these members.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, Zane had his hand up. Zane.
Echo what Councilmember Lester said. I'd actually like to invite you to come to Redondo Beach to the extent I can extend that invitation and speak to our council with this very same presentation, because after the steering committee discussion where the sticker program was raised, we made a referral to have a discussion about the e-bike program, at which time another council member said, hey, why don't we also make a discussion about whether we should have a 3-city council meeting about the e-bike program so that there's uniformity like you suggested across the city. So I think it would be great for our council to hear from you as well. So if you could do that, that would be great.
That'd be wonderful. We'd love to do that.
Yeah, great presentation, both of you, and great research already. Wow, this is a pretty challenging problem. You know, in our city, we've got county sheriff and we've got LAPD across the street on Western Avenue. So reciprocity seems like something that's really important, just because this is a regional thing, and I don't think they're going to just ride in their cities necessarily if we're going to go from city to city. So that's really complex. Our city has a youth advisory committee, so I'd welcome you possibly reaching out to them and having an opportunity to give that presentation and getting their feedback as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
B.
He doesn't have to look. I just take it from this presentation, there is no state law in place that would require e-bike riders to have some kind of training and get a certificate, sort of like as a driver's license. It's an electric vehicle that goes pretty fast, can cause damage.
The DMV has
To
said they're
people.
not going to touch it.
Yeah.
That is
There's
crazy.
nothing in place, and we are seeing a huge lack of knowledge and education when coming to towards the vehicles from the parent side, as well as very little people know there's 3 classes of vehicles, with the third class goes 28 miles per hour. That's very fast, and you have to be 16 years or older to drive one. And most people don't know that and are purchasing them. Yeah, and are purchasing them.
The class 2 one doesn't have to have pedals and is legal. 3 has pedals, but is illegal for the kids under 16.
They all have to have pedals. It's a matter of the throttle start versus a pedal assisted motor.
So the question, I'm sorry, and then for Carlsbad and Irvine, did their city councils enact a city ordinance that would say that kids in their city or anybody has to have a training to ride an e-bike, otherwise they could be cited? Or how are these things monitored for the e-bike sticker?
It's purely through the school district. And so the enforcement is on the way to or from a school sponsored event or school well on campus. And at Irvine, they have campus volunteer officers of some sort.
School resource
Yes.
officer.
Yeah. And they regulate the stickers if they're registered and if they're allowed to be on campus.
Jeff?
Thank you. There was a bill last year. By the Assemblywoman down in Carlsbad, after unfortunately a death in our community by a young person. That bill, due to the state budget crisis, essentially was not moving forward. There was supposed to be a study that came out at the beginning of this year that I still haven't seen from the CHP, talking about what we needed to do. But Borner, Assemblymember Borner is still the person that's really spearheading a lot of this stuff.
And she's from Carlsbad?
Carlsbad area.
I believe she still has a bill to do a pilot in San Diego County.
Still going. Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, that's right. It is just San Diego.
That's what I was gonna ask, Mr. Chairman. Do you know the status of that legislation? Because that's one our city has been in favor of, to allow San Diego to move forward with a pilot program to require registration, because my understanding is we're restricted from doing so as cities. Is that right?
Until you get state law that allows you to really work on it.
Thank you.
Barry?
I think this is a great example of a COG issue. And at first, I didn't think it was. I thought it was just too much of a localized thing, but it's exactly the opposite. It's an emerging issue that is impacting all of our cities. None of us can do squat about it on our own, but like already the beach cities working together, you know, it makes a tremendous difference, because otherwise people are like, if I just scoot along over here, I'm in trouble. And the work that our staff has done is excellent on this. I think it's given us very concrete things that we can do, as opposed to, you know, just conceptual. And anyway, so thank you very much.
Good job.
Good job.
I just want to say, I know we're running late and they're available for feedback at any time. They're not going to be able to go everywhere all at once. But the thing that concerns me, and I'd love to get your feedback privately or whatever, is how we relate this to the school districts. I mean, you each have different relationships with your school districts. And this is a police and public safety problem, so it's a city problem, but we can't do it without the coordination and help from them. So if you could help us with that, they're going to need that.
Jackie, maybe they can make presentations at the school board meetings if they're not already planning to do.
Yeah, what I'm hearing tonight is that we have your endorsement for us to continue to pursue this kind of an idea. And with that, we can reach out to the schools.
Jackie, would you know anyone with Metro who might have some grant money for this sort of work?
You can promote it.
In Hawthorne, the city of Hawthorne actually pays for the school resource office to be in the school district. And also, right now we have a pilot program going that the city is giving some money for the crossing guards. Because we do have a lot of accidents. So it's something there, you know, money box, right? So we have to look at.
We have the same setup.
Yeah.
We're the hammer on it.
Yeah.
We just take the bikes.
Zane?
We're paying $500,000 for crossing guards, and the school district's not paying $1 for it.
Yeah, we are paying.
What I'll say is, I was surprised to see Redondo Beach Unified supporting K through 8 in all those schools, because about a year ago, that was not the case. They did not want to do any kind of police enforcement or any sort of role other than education when it came to e-bikes. So I think if it's a problem enough in your community, the school district would come along.
Okay, that's it. We have legislation still.
Yes.
Sad about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have three pieces of legislation that we wanted to talk to you about. The first is AB 3093, which is streamlining can you explain it? You want to explain it? I can't find it, but go ahead.
This is a bill that would add 2 categories to your housing element. Cal Cities has put out an action alert. We're opposed unless amended. Essentially, our amendments for seeking funding and better descriptions of what actually these 2 different categories need to do. So the bill adds these 2 categories. Essentially, in the very, very low income category, it's adding, we're already doing this. HCED just wants us to do it and put it out separately. This was part of a proposal they put out beginning of the year about what the next housing element in 2040, how we would evolve the housing element process. And for whatever reason, the legislature said, let's do it right now. So Cal Cities is opposed unless amended, where we've been really trying to work with them on it, and we haven't gotten anywhere, and it continues to advance quickly. We only have another month and a half or so of legislative days left, and we're concerned it might actually pass its present form.
And what we've heard is that they want you to identify these numbers, but as Ronson has just explained to you, we don't know these numbers. So that you have nothing to base your compliance on. So we're recommending an opposed position on AB 3093.
Is there any state cost in this program?
They're not giving us any funding, but there's a lot of funding, a lot of costs to cities.
I'm just wondering if we say, hey, look, you guys can't afford to do this right now.
Yeah.
Look.
That ain't gonna happen.
Motion to oppose.
Second.
David?
Any
Second, sorry.
B.
Any opposition?
Got a discussion.
Oh, discussion.
Oh, yes, sorry.
So Assemblymember Marisucci had a Zoom meeting about, I don't know, a month ago, on these housing bills with electeds only. And his point was this, that it seems to be the #1 priority in California. If you ask people what they're most concerned about, it's housing. And that we're losing this battle to oppose these additions of housing and all the different conceptions of what they're trying to do in Sacramento. And that he's losing credibility on the other things that are important to him by opposing all the density bills that he has been. And so seeking solutions from us on that. I just wonder, does anybody think that we would, by continuing to oppose all this stuff that they're gonna shove down our throats anyways, whether we're gonna lose any kind of credibility or with these legislators?
I would say, we asked we bounced around between assembly districts in El Segundo. And we've asked about, we would see a lot of abstentions and very few no's. And we always get well, as long as I just abstain, I can help shape it because it's gonna pass anyway. And that's the most, pusillanimous approach, and it yields no positive results. So I think if we have a position on it, we take the position. And that's why he gets, that's why the assemblyman, you get to catch the bricks,
I'd also say Cal Cities has obviously struggled from this problem. If we oppose everything automatically, then we are afraid that we're no longer able to be at the table and continue in the discussion. This particular bill has risen to the level that it absolutely should be opposed by local governments. If you want to take the same position that Cal Cities did and ask for amendments, we have been really negotiating hard with this author.
No.
And we're just not seeing progress, which is why we raised it to the action alert, Assemblymember Ward.
Where are they?
San Diego. He's the chair of housing too.
Yeah, and there's no explanation for what these new categories will do. It just is just implicit in it that's going to cause cities to do more, but they're not really sharing it. It's very kind of like thrown in there. And so these are additional responsibilities, and what happens, and is that going to mean your housing element is not approved? I mean, it's not good.
Debbie?
Call for the question.
Okay. Vote.
Motion is to oppose. Any opposition to that motion? Any abstention?
Okay, the next bill on the that we have is AB 2797, which is the one that the AT&T bill. And as I said, this is a bill that the CPUC looked like it was going to be making a ruling against AT&T, and we went to Assemblywoman McKinnon, and that the bill that is 2797 would make AT&T and all other carriers able to no longer be the carrier of last resort. I know we were neutral, but the reason I put this here, and it really is up to you, is that as a process issue, that the legislators are going around the regulatory body who did the research and did the analysis.
Well, I think it's actually far more complicated than that, because the regulatory process is kind of limited in what they can do. And I think actually legislative processes may be more appropriate. That depends, of course, on the job that they do, but it still may be appropriate because they can include these other issues. I mean, we've never gone off of copper before. This is, it's just an evolutionary thing. So what all does that mean? And it means a whole bunch of little things, it means big things, and, and where do we go from there? So I'm actually not convinced that legislative is not a good idea. Sorry for the double negative.
Yeah, no, I,
Yeah, it is weird though.
Well, I mean, the LA division did oppose this bill. When we were hearing about it, when it was before the CPUC, I mean, it was brought out by lots of our members who are in high fire districts because during the Malibu fire, only those who had copper landlines were able to get the emergency communications because that it wiped out the cell towers and electricity. So those are the only people that actually got notified. And so it is a larger issue, and California has been having increasing numbers of wildfires. And so it is problematic that if you don't get the right answer to the CPUC, that you go to have a legislator sponsor a bill to get up and around what is actually the jurisdiction of the CPUC is to handle this with public comment. They had several days of public comment. I know I was on the phone for 6 hours to get 1 minute comment. So
Sounds like a metro meeting.
I'm just saying, and it was late at night at that. So all I'm saying is that I do agree, it is a process issue, but it's a substantive issue. And this for the CPUC to make that call was pretty impressive, actually, because and they heard a lot of public comment from people. So I think that I would make a motion to oppose.
David?
I'm sorry, where are we on the agenda? I'm a little lost.
This is something.
This was at the beginning, we were added. This was something that was when we changed the agenda.
So we've gone back to the legislative
Yeah.
matrix?
Yeah.
Thank you.
it's not, these aren't on the matrix.
They're not on the
Not on the
matrix. They were
matrix.
added.
Yeah.
to the agenda.
This is what was added at the beginning of the meeting.
Matrix
Yes.
3.
I know that was 2 hours ago.
So,
This is testing your
That's the one
memory.
without Keanu Reeves. That's right.
Thank you.
No one likes that.
So you making a
I
motion?
made a motion to oppose.
I haven't seen a second. No,
Any second to oppose, second motion.
Motion abstain.
the motion dies lack of a second.
Oh, right. Motion to remain neutral.
Yeah, I second that motion.
Okay. That's the motion,
Yeah.
David?
Any opposition to staying neutral?
Yes,
Segundo, yes.
Rolling Hills, yes. And the air conditioner is in another yes.
And it gets.
Again,
Wants to override, it wants to override you.
It was,
It's just opposition from those two, right?
yes,
Any abstentions on the vote?
the county.
the county, yes.
okay, let me go very rapidly to the third bill. Third bill we want to address is AB 3264. Talk about Looney. There's nothing wrong with this bill today, but we have heard that it is going to be used as a vehicle for eliminating ratepayer funds, which are the energy efficiency funds that pay for all of our programs. And so we would like your authority to go against this bill if in truth it does change. And that could happen any day, the way the legislature is working. So it's conditional on whether, the rumor is that it's going to change, and we're monitoring that. So we're recommending that we oppose if this does change with the specific understanding that the opposition is eliminating ratepayer funds.
So moved.
And could you explain more about the impact of ratepayer funds as you described?
So everybody pays an extra fee on your utility bill, and it's called ratepayer funds. And all of those funds are pooled at the state, and they implement energy efficiency across the state. So it's millions of dollars. So it's, it's not only the projects that we do for the cities, it's all of the support services, it's all of the technical support services, school programs, Kids for Kids, all of that would be gone January 1, 2025.
David?
I have a motion. Second. Any opposition? Abstentions.
I'm gonna abstain.
Motion passes.
Okay,
Okay.
here we
Elect-
are.
Finally.
We are at all.
No, we're doing that still too.
Yes, so now we're at the election of officers. Everybody have their
Well, we have nominees and you have to close them.
ballot. We're making sure they have the paperwork. in.
Okay, yeah.
So we have the nomination. Anyone want to be added to any of, to be considered for the chair, the first vice chair? So hearing none. Anyone need to be added on to the second vice chair that's not on the list?
It's plenty.
The nomination is closed. And at this time, we just want everyone to vote.
I got a question.
Yes.
I need to explain something because several people have asked me. So Bill and I have been tag teaming the COG for the last 3 years, which actually, I would say, like 20 years ago was kind of the standard with the COG that you usually had the delegate and the alternate both involved in a lot of things. And I think we need to see what we can do to encourage that more from all our cities, because there's a lot of knowledge, obviously, to be shared.
I didn't do that.
But anyway, so Bill has been doing the transportation, homeless services and senior services meetings. I've been generally doing the steering committee and the board meetings. What I can't, he does. So anyway, we've been covering that. And so then when Bill said that, he was interested in doing more with the COG, I thought it was a good idea for him to step up to be considered for second vice chair. And I will leave his commercial to him. But anyway, so just want everybody to know that
We'll bring it up in the next,
me, but
from the next executive meeting when I'm gone. But I do want to make sure all the three that's for the second vice chairs, Chris Pimentel, Bill Uphoff, and Zane, wanted to make sure you guys got your 3 minute to do your speech if you wanted to do your speech.
Question. 30 seconds. How will the votes be, the plurality gets it, or somebody has to get a majority? Well,
Majority.
majority is tough with 3. So,
Is what it
I'd
is.
have to vote.
Races on.
with that, if
We
it,
may have to do based on elimination. We're gonna do a round robin till we get to that number.
if it's a majority,
Elimination.
I'll step out, I'll withdraw from consideration. That way we just have a 2-person
Okay.
that's not as fun.
position.
That's not fun.
That was the ideal. Okay.
Well, Shane has stepped out, so now we only have 2 to consider. So those who already voted for him, you gotta do it again.
Pass these forward.
Here.
Sorry, can you confirm what the process is?
Okay, here we go again.
What ended up happening,
I have voted.
the executive nominating committee did a recommendation, but we still opened it up to the floor. And you still had to accept nominations based upon directors who wanted to be considered for any of the seats. So we had 3 that wanted to be for the second vice chair. So today, we're actually having to vote for that person for the second vice chair.
Understood. I'm not sure I'm understanding the paper in front of us. That's what.
Well, there's nobody that's running against Rodney, nobody's running against Bernadette. So those are already in place.
Probably should vote for them. Unless you want to.
But the one we have to look at is for the second vice chair, and now that Zane has pulled his name off of the nomination to be considered, that now you just have the 2 you want based upon the 2, and the highest vote getter would be your second chair.
I'm just confirming where to write it on a piece of paper as a.
Oh, just mark the X.
Did you get you have a piece of paper?
Yeah, let's check, yeah.
Shouldn't they wait until they speak? I mean,
I asked the question, did anybody want to speak?
Somebody speaking.
Nobody jumped up immediately.
Nobody.
You don't have to. You snooze, you lose.
Yeah, I mean, the only comment I'll make is, as Barry alluded to, when I got elected in 2020, I said, hey, I'll be a. What? I'm gonna be quick, don't worry about it. I'm not long-winded. So when I got elected in 2020, I said, hey, I'll be a voice on the city council for the residents. Jackie reached out and I'm going, oh my gosh, what did I get into? Didn't know anything about the COG and whatnot, but shortly thereafter in 2021, I got on the homeless services working group, started doing that, senior services working group, now the transportation committee, now the delegate for South Bay Aerospace Alliance. So again, this is more or less just more of the grab a bat, grab a ball, grab a glove and get in the game, right? So that's kind of what it's about for me, just making sure the residents of Alameda have a voice at the table.
I would echo that. I think that, you know, Bill and I probably cut from the same cloth on that we just try to be involved in quite a bit of things. I think by the nature of where El Segundo is located, that it's incumbent on us to sort of be involved in a lot of things because we have so many touch points, both city of LA and with some of the larger cities around us. And, you know, we're industrial by day and residential beach by night. And so we try to be involved in a lot of things and be able to listen to the different constituencies around us. So I think that, you know, it's probably, you know, an identical speech to Alameda.
Yeah, again, just appreciate the opportunity. I'm sure whatever choices you guys make will be the right one.
Thank you.
Do we have all the ballots?
No, not yet. He was still voting.
Yes, we have.
That was the debate.
So-
One seated.
No debate.
Apparently not.
I do it, my trouble.
Maybe turn it off.
I didn't know there was a skills component to that.
Hey, I Jackie, not me. Messing up my hearing aid.
I was your hearing aid.
If I had one, it was blown up by now.
Open my garage door.
Okay, let's see, where am I here?
I gotta give.
I know, I was banished. I know, it was so abrupt.
Yeah, it was.
I had a few meetings.
The rug was like
Yeah.
pulled up from under me.
To look at a picture,
Yeah.
you just cut us out of all your pictures.
I know.
The
Block my Snapchat.
I didn't show up.
I'm still not over it.
I got something for you.
So.
Page committee.
Looks like.
You have to have an envelope.
Yes, yes,
You say, "I have the envelope."
I figured I'm gonna let it go. I'm roll.
Everybody vote. I missed it.
Okay, give it that. Now you're-
Jackie, I
We don't know.
Oh,
I said,
I was gonna comment about that verbiage in the workplace, the inmate part.
What you missing?
Yeah, no.
what do you want to be?
Somebody missed that.
I'm gonna go by agency, Manhattan Beach.
Oh, then
Am I missing? Who are you missing? I have 12 agencies or 13 agencies here?
12.
Okay, then yes, we're good.
Chicago, seven.
Wait, I'm sorry, 2 or 3 votes apiece.
There's the Chicago guy.
Pick up the city.
Like in, like, Sutherland.
We have 8 votes for Bill and 4 for Chris. And we needed 7.
Seven.
For either one. So it looks like Bill is the nominee, is the second vice chair.
Thank you. Not sure what I got into, but here we go again. More of the same.
Mr. Chair,
Karen for years.
Oh, congratulations.
Mr. Chair, can I steal your floor for a little bit?
It's yours.
Oh, thank you. So congratulations, Bill.
Thank you.
Thanks for the entries. We appreciate you. But we just want to thank Cedric for your leadership this past year.
Cedric.
And, you know, everybody's got their stuff they bring to the table. And as the chairman, you were friendly. You had an open manner to transact our businesses, our board meetings. And you had a willingness to address the important issues throughout the year. So I'm going to say all the things that you did. And it's worth saying, okay?
God.
So during this past year, you have made strides in our many programs and projects, the local travel network that you helped start out in El Segundo and is now going to progress into Redondo, Carson, and Alameda. You've also helped local agencies fund important infrastructure projects by programming over $45 million in M&R funding. And you even participated in a Diamond Street bike lane. Your successful South Bay Environmental Services Center celebrated 20th anniversary, continues to bring important sustainability and information to our communities. The South Bay COG staff continued to work with our city staffs and focus the efforts on city school districts to help save tens of thousands of kilowatts of hours through replacement of inefficient water heaters. You've also identified significant potential savings through our innovative facility equipment inventory program. Identify where energy savings and incentives will be most impactful. We honored city sustainability efforts and accomplishments through the inaugural Public Agency Recognition Program. And the COG was even awarded the 2023 Beacon Leadership and Innovation Award for cross-agency collaboration in climate resilience and adaptation. Most recently, the COG was able to celebrate 5 elementary school classrooms in Hawthorne. You just saw the program, who completed the Kits for Kids program and received $1,000 grants for each. We've explored artificial intelligence at our 21st General Assembly, which was probably the largest assembly that we've had with 400 plus attendees. You presided over our continued efforts to address homelessness. Our efforts have led to reduction in homelessness in incorporated cities of the South Bay. You've also helped organize and participate regional expungement fairs and Assemblymember Mike Gibson to give people a second chance at employment and other opportunities. Nearly $4 million have been secured for various programs in the South Bay, including the expansion of Redondo Beach Pellet Shelter and the establishment of an alternative crisis response program for behavioral health. We look to the future as we continue to develop a digital equity plan for the South Bay that will address the digital divide and build upon the South Bay Fiber Network. Under your leadership, the South Bay COG continued to advocate local control and other South Bay legislative priorities through quarterly briefings with our representatives and the annual legislative meet and greet with Cal Cities and South Bay Association Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the South Bay COG, it gives me great pleasure to give you, guess what?
What?
They handed this to me under the table and you didn't see it.
I normally see everything.
We are presenting you with this awesome plaque from the COG, which has a member's city's logos on it and proudly displayed in your office as you continue to service the South Bay.
Thank you.
One thing that I think every chair gets is a scrapbook and it commemorates your year as chair, put together by Colleen Farrell and Andrea.
You put that together?
So that also goes.
I don't know you.
Don't leave because we do have cake, but.
Oh my.
We have certificates from participating cities, and David, you're gonna.
Hand out the ones for everybody that's here, but for folks that aren't here, we also have one from Torrance, Eaglewood. We have some from our state legislative office, Lawndale, Senator Ben Allen, WRD.
And we're not gonna read them all because we'd be here another hour and a half.
And City of LA. And then we'll go around, we have folks from some of the state offices, a federal certificate, and then our cities.
I'll be quick. I know you guys want to get out of here.
No, we want the cake.
This is on behalf of, we did a partnership with Senator Bradford's office, Mike Gibson's office, and I'm from Assemblymember Lowenthal's office. Here you go. Can you take a picture of this?
Where's the other ones? That book looks good. How do we get a copy? Scrapbook. Yeah.
Colleen does a great.
Gotta be chair.
Yeah. One also?
I used to make them by hand.
Can we
I used to actually make,
pass around this,
cut
Yeah.
pictures.
I know the time is late and I don't want to belabor, but I think I started with the COG. God, 2016, maybe 2015, around at that time. At that time, I was an active employee of the city of Carson as the director of community services. And when I retired in 2016 and then got elected in 2016, Working with Jackie's been a labor of love because we've gone round and around about different stuff, because you know, Jackie can be kind of hard sometimes and not. I'm always agreeing with everything you want to go. Following behind John, I was his first vice president after he was the chair. He let me learn the hard knocks. Many times he might not have been here. It was the date that we had a big crowd, the largest crowd we ever had, but
That was planned by Ray.
it was planned. Through it all, you know, you guys are tremendous. You guys have your own community you got to represent and have to deal with. And I know it's not always easy. And everyone is jockeying to making sure they get what they want. But I think as a whole, we work together as a team. We were able to get things accomplished and get things done. One of my key components when I first became chair, I said, Jackie, you know, me and time, I can't be here till 9 o'clock at night. We got to get in and get out. So for the most part, we always got out of here before 8 o'clock or right at 8. So we are really behind that. But you can have a good new chair coming in. He knows his stuff. He's able to come in here with both feet ready to run. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to another seat in the back so I can relax.
What I think what we'll do is we'll just, each individual city can just come up and see Cedric and present your.
Real quick before we have the cities, I wanted to have Gus come up. West Basin.
Yes.
West Basin actually presented
They did me
the
yesterday.
chair with a certificate earlier in the week.
Yes.
There's a photo that we wanted to share, but we just wanted to give Gus, who chose to be here tonight, an opportunity to say some remarks.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, our board at West Basin surprised the chair, Hendricks here with the proclamation. We wanted to thank him for his leadership, for all the great work he's done all year, and also on the agenda was our partnership agreement. So I want to thank the board and the chair for approving our partnership. We've had a partnership with you, with the COG, since 2006. So the staff here has been promoting and working our events since then, doing a great job for us. So we're really, we love our partnership with the South Bay COG at West Basin and our board. And again, I want to congratulate you, Chair.
Thank you.
So having to fill big shoes next year, I appreciate all the guidance.
They're only a size.
Sorry, it's like twice.
He's gonna be,
I'll do my best to represent for you.
he's gonna be in back of the room throwing darts.
Making face. So, Jackie, we done? That's it? I give
Well-
it back to Seth, so it's his meeting.
Yeah,
No,
and so you're gonna come up individually, okay.
I'm gonna give the gavel to the new incoming chair.
Well, no, you finished this meeting. He's not sure till
I'm
July
not sure, that's
1st.
July 1st.
Did you get a picture of the?
Jackie, can we make some individual remarks or?
Well, it's, yeah, I guess you can, I mean.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
I guess I'm,
Yeah.
I remember when you were the newbie. So
Yes.
I first joined the COG in 2011.
See,
I just-
that's how far it goes back then. I said, okay.
I just want to acknowledge that I thought you really walked the talk of being open, inclusive, sensitive to board members. What great meetings. Thank you for serving as chair this past year.
Thank you. My pleasure. You know, my buddy, wait, there you go.
Thanks.
My hat, where's my hat?
Yeah, right, right here. There we go. I'll say it with the hat. Thanks for hearing out all the Redondo Beach people and giving them. And they've come here a lot. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I've known Cedric longer than any of you, and he and I were staffers together in Carson. That they burned me out into a pile of ash, but anyway. Cedric is the voice of reason, and you meet with him privately, you meet with him publicly, you get the same thing. And I respect him very much, and he's done a great job as chair. And tough act to follow, but Rodney's the man to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Others?
Well, Cedric, thank you for opening the pilot project over there in Hawthorne with us.
Yeah, I did it twice. I went for the
Was, yes.
and the first year anniversary.
Grand open and the anniversary 1 year, so thank you for being there, appreciate it. And you know, we have clean power lines together.
That's right. I'm not gone long because Debbie knows where I'm at. I'm now the new chair of the legislative committee for the Clean Power Alliance. So
Nice.
I go from one to the next.
Can't say no.
Aren't you on that?
Cedric, on behalf of Supervisor Hahn, I'd like to join in congratulating you on your successful term. We heard from Rodney the laundry list of things that you've accomplished. But what I wanted to add is that you really brought a lot of sincerity and charm to the position and good humor. And I know that goes a long way in these meetings. And I just wanted to say that at the General Assembly, you were in your home city and it was your time to shine, and that's what you did. And you did a great job. And so I have this certificate, and it's not only on behalf of Supervisor Hahn, but on behalf of Supervisor Mitchell. So that means you're a really big deal. Congratulations, and it's been great working with you.
Now it's hot.
It is getting hot.
Air conditioning stops today.
Oh, that does.
Yeah.
Oh.
Three.
Somewhere in the meeting.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah. Chris. So why don't
She got it.
Oh, I can be cutting the cakes.
I can put it on.
Any others?
Let me get one with the cake.
If you want to get a picture up here with Cedric.
I don't mind to close the door when she's eating.
If you want to do a cake.
Cedric,
you have a
big wall.
Because you're gonna have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Build that wall, Cedric, build that wall.
Well, let me.
Yeah, nice.
Can line up?
Yeah, just, well, okay.
Now, is it? Oh.
One more.
Oh, I know, it's like they all stop, you know. I'm like, well, how was it?
Oh, okay.
I didn't even turn around that.
Need help there, yeah. I know. And you said, I didn't even know, so.
I knew I said
Friendly and firm, my friend.
Well.
I gotta, I'm just getting back from vacation.
I'm gonna run to the restroom. I'll be right back.
Yeah, we can.
We are adjourned. Officially.
Speak it up.
Hey, David. That bill is eligible to be taken up on the floor of the Senate on Monday. Right. Yeah, 22/3/20. And I mean, because I use the study of for why my city should. Yeah.
Thank you.
So.
We got berries still.
I think. Anyway.
On the home.
Alan.
Okay.
I want to get cleared from vacation. I think it for
Go with them, because they would seek out the information. But
all of that.
it's always good. A lot of the other ancillary folks, absolutely. About being no against. No, I thought it was a K. Forget, we're on mic.
I knew about that.
The other shop.
It's the retail tax.
Down.
Not sitting down.
I was, yeah.
Really quick.
Association. They have got.
Oh, what's the gap?
Yeah, move.
To put the ballot, an amendments to Prop 47 on the ballot. And the governor's office and legislative leader. Legislature gave themselves until next week on a ballot measure of their own. And they added 11 of the bills. These bills would be. Oh, so we came out and said, we don't agree with that. Stop playing politics. We're going neutral on these bills. We're no longer supporting.
I was gonna do that to the whole group, but I think we're over.
Yeah. Without.
All right, well, go around this way. Let me go. Yeah, let me go. Congrats. Yeah.